Hey there sugar dumplings. I put the call out on Facebook the other day for some questions for a self-love Q&A, and I'm really looking forward to giving my answers in this here video, so let's get started. What are some things that you can do every day to progress in your journey of self-love? This is a really good question to start things off. I've been formulating and kind of mulling over for a while my theory of elemental self-love, which is basically where you use earth, air, fire and water to kind of inform your self-love practice, and you ensure that you have something that relates to each of those themes in your self-love practice on a daily basis, and certainly rolling out on a weekly basis. This is something that I have done for myself for a really long time, going on years now I would say, and it's something that I've been encouraging clients to do in my counselling sessions and readings for a while, but it's something that I really want to start talking about way more widely and encouraging more people to do. And it's basically just where you use the elements to theme your self-love practice, so you make sure that you have something from the element of earth, air, fire and water every single day. So earth pertains to your physical vessel, so your eating, your exercise regime, the way you feel in your body, that kind of thing. And then fire represents creative stuff and spiritual stuff, your passions, what you're really into. Water represents emotional support, whether or not you're allowing yourself to process your emotions and work through your stuff. And then air represents mental, what you're doing to challenge yourself mentally, push yourself intellectually, learn more, expand your mind. I think if you're doing something from each of the four elements and you're using those themes to kind of help you to explore what you can do every day, then I think it changes from person to person in terms of who they are. But I know that I do something for myself physically, emotionally, creatively and mentally every day, and that kind of really helps me and keeps me walking the path of self-love as a daily practice. What is your personal favourite go-to can't live without self-love practice? I don't think I want to name a favourite one or a kind of supreme self-love practice that I go to, but I do think that solitude is a huge thing for me when it comes to my own journey of self-love. I think it's really important that I have time alone. My boyfriend and I are exceptionally close. We spend a lot of time together, we live together, so it's really important on that note for us to just make sure we have some time apart from each other, having our own thoughts, feeling our own feelings, processing things on our own time. And I think for me, throughout my journey of self-love, before I got with my boyfriend, a long time before we met, solitude was important because I need to speak to myself and I need to check in with myself to establish how I'm really feeling, and I need to make sure that I never get to a point in my life where solitude feels like loneliness, where time in my own company doesn't feel positive. I think that's an issue that I've come across with a lot of people who suffer from a deficit of self-love, is that they're scared to be in their own company, they're freaked out by solitude, they don't enjoy being with themselves, they don't want to listen to their own thoughts, they don't want to know what's down there or what's in there or what's back there, and I don't want that for myself. So solitude is definitely a go-to thing that I know I need when I'm feeling out of sorts or off kilter. I know I just need to be with myself, I need to talk to myself, I need to listen, I need to check in, I need to connect with spirit, whatever it is I need to do. I've got to go away to refuel, I've got to go away to kind of charge myself up, and I've got to be alone for that. I would love some advice on navigating self-love through life's peaks and troughs. Beyond the understanding and the implementation, how do we embody this in the long term when challenging times push us to all that is not loving? Good question. Really well put as well. The peaks and troughs that you mention in your question, the ups and downs, life's challenges that push us towards things that are not self-loving, those experiences in life are why I talk about self-love as a daily practice. I don't think it helps us to talk about self-love as a destination, and we arrive at that destination and it's the end of a journey, and we never kind of need to, we never need to re-enter that destination again. We've gotten there, we've arrived, and that's it. Now we are self-loving individuals. I don't think it works like that. I believe that every single day we make a fresh choice to live in the light of self-love. I think every single moment we can choose self-love, we can choose again and choose self-love. I think self-love is a daily practice. It's a commitment that I make to myself anew every day, regardless of the challenges that I face. So I think that's one thing that has really helped me, is recognizing that self-love isn't just a light switch that you turn on and then you never need to turn it on again. Self-love is a decision that you make consciously every single day, knowing that life might throw challenges at you, knowing that it might be really difficult for you to make self-loving choices. I think if you come at it with that sense of organic daily consciousness, then it's a lot less difficult to keep coming back to it, because you're not already selling yourself this false promise that self-love is stagnant, that self-love never goes anywhere, that once you've obtained it, it's within your possession. It doesn't work like that. You have to come to it every day. You have to make that decision every day. And you fall into it organically, but I think the more conscious you are of the fact that it's a choice, then the more conscious you can be of when you're not living in alignment with it. You can notice yourself making a choice that isn't self-loving, and you can respond in that moment. What is your best self-love tip when you engage in any type of activism? I think activism should be empowering, but sometimes I feel dragged down by the weight of everyone else's opinions. For me, self-love when it comes to activism is about making sure that I've processed my emotions and I've done any of my strong emotions before I go into the space of activism, whether that's a space online or a space in the physical world, whether it's going to be the front line at a protest or just talking to somebody on a forum or whatever it is. I need to make sure that I have sorted my strong emotions out already, that I'm not taking them to the table with me, and it's important that I do that not only for the group of people that I'm working to support or be allied with, but also for myself, so that I make sure that I'm not vulnerable in a space where I don't want to be vulnerable, and so I make sure that I stick on the issues rather than making anything about my own emotional response. So I think when you're interested in activism, when you are an activist, it's really important to process your emotions elsewhere. Make sure that you do have a way to externalize your strong emotions about the activism that you're doing. Of course, there are a lot of strong emotions behind fighting for any kind of social justice. That totally makes sense. But I think you need to make sure that you're not going to the front lines with your heart on your sleeve, you know, bleeding all over the ground. It's not fair on the people that you're there with. It's not fair on the people that you're trying to fight on behalf of. And it's not fair on you. You know, you don't need to be out there in quite such a vulnerable way. There's a time and a place to process your emotions, and it's not on the front line, and it's not in the midst of a discussion. The other thing I want to say about activism when it comes to self-love, and this is something I could fully do a whole video on, but the other thing I really want to mention is that you have the right to disengage, and you've got to know when you need to disengage, and at that point you can walk away from a discussion. You do not have to keep pushing yourself through it. If it's not right for you, if you realise it's going down a really shitty avenue and you don't want to be involved, you absolutely have the right to block, to delete, to walk away, to take some air. Do that. What deities or spirits do you work with when you need a boost of self-love and confidence? I work quite closely with the Blessed Virgin. I definitely say that that is an archetype that for me is very symbolic of compassion and love and just that motherly energy. If I'm struggling with self-love, if I'm really berating myself or criticising myself, if I'm in the midst of self-judgment, then it's definitely good to have a little head-to-head with Mother Mary, and that definitely is helpful. I also feel like in terms of self-confidence, in terms of empowerment, my matron deity Hel is, you know, has been extremely influential for me in that sense, and I also work with her mother, the giantess Angraboda, and that is definitely also a really cool presence in my life. I work with a whole host of heroes and heroines and fictional characters and all kinds of things like that I tend to kind of splay all over my altar when I need to feel self-confident and empowered. I definitely work with a lot of punk iconography. I work with a lot of different figures throughout history that really inspire me and connect me to my own sense of confidence and empowerment. That's definitely very helpful as well. How do you teach yourself to be able to pull yourself out of a bad mindset and into self-love? I frequently get stuck in my head, and it's most often not in a good way. When you get stuck in your head like that, I think the best thing to do is to just change up your energy. For me, if I know that I'm stuck, then I know that I have a responsibility to take myself out of that stuckness. And sometimes that can just be about getting up and moving around, walking around, leaving the house, just getting the endorphins pumping, you know, just getting into a different frame of mind. I know that for me, when I get really stuck, I can get this kind of low level like agoraphobia, and I can be really reluctant to leave the flat and go for a walk, but sometimes it is really the thing that I need most of all. If you can't do that, then I'd recommend like make yourself a cup of invigorating tea. Lime and mint tea is amazing for that. Something really like snaps you out of it. Cinnamon tea is good. Make yourself get yourself in a shower, like a tepid shower, just wake yourself up. do a little workout, get the blood pumping, do something that is going to help you to invite the new state of mind. Sometimes it can be about using your body as the vehicle to shift yourself out of a negative mindset. If you see yourself stuck, then know that you can take some kind of step to symbolise the invitation. You can open that doorway to a different way of thinking, and sometimes that just takes for you to do something physical, to take an action, to symbolise your readiness for a new mindset to come. Is there a specific crystal or set of crystals that you personally suggest for self-love work? Ones that you've had success with? Rose quartz is amazing. It's just got such a beautiful energy of self-love and self-esteem and self-care and self-nurturing, and yeah, just mental well-being, positive feelings of self-worth. I use it with all of my client readings. I've always got some rose quartz on hand when I'm doing Skype counselling sessions, anything like that with clients. Black tourmaline is incredible as well. It's very stabilising. It helps you to connect with your sense of identity, your inner strength, stability in the core. Black tourmaline is so nurturing. I love it. It's definitely one of my favourite stones. There are others as well that I could definitely think of. Green aventurine is great for opening the heart chakra, for not only healing, forgiveness and letting go of stuff, but also just allowing yourself to fill up on compassion and to feel your own essential worthiness. Green aventurine is really good for that. Would love to hear some of your thoughts on dark self-love and setting boundaries while taking that path. Dark self-love is a term that's been doing the rounds a little bit lately, and I understand what it means. I get that it's about like loving your shadow and embracing your shadow and that kind of thing, but I personally don't feel the need to specify that it's the shadow that you're really kind of looking at loving, because I think for a lot of people that's what it is. When you're struggling to love things about yourself, when you're struggling to accept yourself fully, it'll usually be some of the things that you've crammed into your shadow that will be the problematic parts of your self-love journey. Having said that, I definitely do think that there is kind of room for focusing specifically on loving the shadow. So I do kind of get the phraseology of dark self-love, but I do feel most of the time like self-love is that working towards embracing your shadow and loving your shadow. In terms of how I would give advice for this, I'd say knowing your intentions is the most important thing. Now, this is something that I could make a whole other video on, and I will do, definitely. But I think just knowing your intentions, first of all, is really important. And I do say this, and I have said this over and over again with my own shadow work material that I've put out, is that it's so important to know why you are accessing the shadow. Why are you going down there? If you know why you're going down there and you have a self-loving reason to go down there, then when things get a bit murky, you just need to go back to the drawing board and look at your intentions again, and your intentions will help you to navigate. Your intentions will be that compass that will keep you on the right path. How does one continue a healthy practice of self-love when surrounded by people who are not self-loving? Living with people who don't find the value of self-love and project that very strongly has been tough. Oh man, there are so many misunderstandings about self-love. There's so much negativity out there about it. There's so many unhelpful kind of viewpoints about how it's tantamount to selfishness, or it's about being self-absorbed or arrogant, and it's definitely something that we can struggle with when other people project their own fears about loving themselves onto us as people that are consciously on the journey. I would definitely think one of the most important things to remember is that you can reach out to other people who are on the journey of self-love. So first of all, do that, use your online resources to speak to people and meet people who are also on this incredible journey and understand what you're talking about when you talk about self-love. Don't bash your head off a brick wall trying to talk to people that don't understand it and aren't interested in it or will chide you for it. Go and find people that can talk to you about it and that really want to talk to you about it. I think that's super important. And the other thing I would say is don't forget the value of shielding yourself every single morning. Activate your chakras, get everything on lock, get your energetic vibration where you want it to be via whatever means you choose, and then really just lock that shit down. Set your vibration so that you are riding high no matter what the people around you are doing or saying or thinking. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you so much for giving me your questions. I hugely appreciate it. I hope this Q&A has been useful and helpful to you on your self-love journey. And I want to let you know that Sounds and Sessions for 2016 is now available to purchase over on my shop at the early bird price. If you don't know what Sounds and Sessions is, I'll let you know. During the month of September, when I do Self-Love September on YouTube, Sounds and Sessions is where I put forth a lot of the very in-depth resources on self-love that I send throughout the month to anybody who's on the mailing list, basically. So if you get on the Sounds and Sessions mailing list, I'll be sending you some in-depth half-hour-long video workshops. I'll be sending you some half-hour-long SoundCloud audio files for download, and you will also get access to the private Sounds and Sessions Meeting Place Facebook group, where we are going to talk about self-love for 6 whole weeks together as a private group, and it is going to be amazing. And I can't wait, so definitely come on over. You can purchase Sounds and Sessions now at the early bird price for a limited time, and I'll just be answering lots of questions in the private Facebook group, having chats with you guys. So if you liked what went on in this Q&A, then you can get much more of that with Sounds and Sessions. The Facebook group opens in mid-August, so get yourselves on the gravy train with biscuit wheels, and I will see you there. Much love, blessed be.